Well, Mexico's once most powerful drug lord, Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán, now claiming that he cannot get phone calls or visits in the maximum security U.S. prison where he is serving a life sentence. Well, Chapo was able to break out of Mexican prisons pretty much at will in the past, but in a letter he wrote to a judge that he hadn't been able to speak with his twin daughters. And El Chapo also asked the judge to authorize a visit by his wife, but did not say when he was last allowed to be able to see her. All right, let's bring in Queen City News Chief Legal Analyst Florence to this conversation. First of all, when you talk about, set aside who we are talking about, looking at these type of charges, is that pretty typical in terms of what's being handed down now?
Not typical in terms of not having access to have visits, to having phone calls. Only situation I can think of is COVID. When we were in COVID, folks were limiting face-to-face contact. They were limiting, video calls. They were limiting everything they could do to try to figure out how we could stop the spread. But then once we came out of that, rules went back to normal. Typically, as a prisoner, even in the maximum security prison as like he is in, you give access to have visitations. His caveat is that the federal government, the FBI specifically, monitors his calls because, as you mentioned, he's broken out of prison a number of times in the past. He was running the largest cartel in the world. And because of that, they want to monitor what he says. His wife has already pled guilty to similar types of charges. And so they're worried about the communication that he has in the background with those individuals that could potentially lead to some type of prison break. But you would typically think that you can get some type of recourse when you're not getting what you're supposed to receive in prison. Okay, I'm not getting water, I'm not getting fed. Right. We have rules against cruel and unusual punishment. However, in this situation, the judge was clear in his order. He said, once I sentence you to jail, you are now in the custody of the Bureau of Prisons. I have no control over how they can remove you. I have no control over what happens to you. You have to take that up with the Bureau of Prisons, which is not what he wanted to hear, but that's what the judge said.
So, Khalif, what I want to ask you is, because you being a defense attorney, from the other side, I mean, how do you defend your client?
In that situation, I mean, most of the time, once the case is over, unless you're working with them in some type of appellate work, our relationship, I would say, is over in terms of contractually. I represented you, I've defended you, and then at some point you've been either convicted or pled to some, negotiated plea, and then you were sentenced to prison. Yeah, we would still communicate. Yeah, we would still talk. But in terms of representation, it's over. And so, I mean, I think the judge said it as clear as you can. Unless it's something where you're being abused, unless it's something where you're being, tortured, we clearly have rules in place to stop that from happening. But in terms of them limiting your contact, I don't think that falls under cruel and unusual punishment.
When you saw how the judge ruled on this, was there anything that stood out to you that you felt like, whoa?
I think the judge handled it just like I would handle any type of situation handled like that. He stated the law clearly, like, listen, I am limited in my authority. I had 100% control over your case when it was in my courtroom. But now that that's over, I have no control. I thought that was clear. He didn't make it about him. He made it about the law.
He didn't make it about El Chapo, because that, you got to remember who we're talking about.
For sure, for sure.
Right. All right, Florence, we appreciate that.